Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Wes stood at the edge of the Metro Court rooftop, fingers clenched around his phone as the wind tousled his dark hair. The city lights below glimmered like restless stars, but his thoughts were focused entirely on Lulu Spencer. He dialed her number, each ring pulling tighter at his nerves until her familiar voice answered. "I'm at the Metro Court," he said quietly. "Can you come?" Lulu's silence was brief but weighted. "On my way." When she arrived, her eyes found him easily through the crowd. She moved toward him, her expression uncertain. "What's going on?" "I'm in a bind," Lulu admitted, voice low. "A personal one, and I need your help." He didn't wait for her response before pouring out the truth, the lingering feelings, the what-ifs, the ache that hadn't gone away. He confessed to wanting more than just friendship, to being tired of pretending he didn't see a future with her. Lulu's lips parted slightly as the words landed. For a moment, neither moved. Then, almost instinctively, they reached for each other. Her fingers brushed against his jaw and their lips met in a kiss that felt like years in the making. The tension broke in a rush of heat and longing, and the rooftop fell away around them. But downstairs, another return was unfolding. In her hospital room, Jones stirred. Her eyelids fluttered open to sterile lights and the rhythmic beep of monitors. Her body ached, but her mind was racing. The last thing she remembered was the crash, and then nothing. "Where?" she murmured. A nurse rushed to her side, paging the attending physician. Within minutes was at her bedside, her face tight with a mix of relief and anxiety. "You're awake," whispered. "Thank God." Lips twisted into a weary smile. "What did I miss?" Back in the heart of the hospital, Dante leaned against Jordan's desk, his expression grim. He briefed her on the latest in the Anna case. The web of lies, betrayal, and the threat of something bigger looming beneath the surface had both of them uneasy. "She's not just a target," Dante said. "She's a symbol. Someone's trying to send a message. Jordan, and we need to decode it before anyone else gets hurt." Meanwhile, Brook sat across from, at Kelly's, her sharp eyes watching him over her coffee. He was trying to play it cool, but Brook had seen enough to know something was eating him alive. "What aren't you telling me?" she asked, voice gentle but firm. He hesitated, pushing his food around his plate. "It's Emma. She's in deep, way deeper than she'll admit. I thought staying in Port Charles would be safer, but now I'm not so sure." Brooks fingers the table thoughtfully. "Then maybe you need to rethink what's best for both of you." Looked up at her, his jaw clenched. "If I leave, she'll be alone. And if you stay and you both get caught up in something worse." She let the question hang there. Sometimes love meant walking away, wasn't ready to face that truth, not yet. Across town, Nat stood in the drawing room, arms folded across her chest, every inch of her radiating caution and frustration. Jones stood opposite her, fidgeting, trying to find the right words. "I heard them talking," confessed. "Marco, and he's planning something bad." His eyes narrowed. "And you want to confront him?" "You need to be absolutely certain that's the right thing to do," warned. "This isn't some family squabble. If Marco's really involved in something criminal, confronting him could make things worse, for everyone." Looked away, torn. He wanted to act, but's words rang true. Wasn't just a place of secrets anymore, it was a ticking time bomb. Back at General Hospital, the atmosphere shifted as Robinson held the paternity test results in her hands, stood beside her, arms crossed, offering no comfort, only facts. Curtis, Robinson, and Isaiah stood nearby, each holding their breath. His voice trembled as she spoke. "The test is back, biological father is." The words felt like knives as she spoke Curtis's name. Blinked, stunned. Curtis's face was unreadable. Isaiah took a step back, the truth unraveling the quiet bond he had nurtured for so long. "No," he said quietly. "I'm sorry," whispered. "I didn't know for sure. I thought." Curtis stepped forward, putting a hand on her shoulder, but it wasn't comfort, it was restraint. "This changes everything," he said simply. Jordan arrived shortly after, her timing uncanny. She sensed the tension immediately and approached with guarded concern. "What happened?" she asked quietly. Curtis filled her in with a few short sentences. Jordan's jaw tightened, but she offered only a nod. There was no place for emotion right now, not when everything was already on the brink. Later that night, in the quiet of the hospital chapel, Curtis and Jordan sat side by side in the pews. "You okay?" Jordan asked. Curtis laughed bitterly. "Am I ever?" They both stared at the stained glass ahead, the fractured by the dim lights. "We've been through worse," Jordan said. "Maybe, but this isn't just about us anymore. She's my daughter." Jordan reached over and took his hand. "Then you'll do what you always do. You'll fight, you'll show up, you'll be the father she never knew she needed." Curtis slowly, "I just hope it's enough." And in another part of the hospital, Jones sat up in bed scrolling through her phone. Messages poured in, well wishes, updates, and one that made her heart freeze. A picture of and Lulu kissing in the glow of the rooftop lights. Stared at it, her breath catching. So much had changed while she slept, and it wasn't over yet. Jones blinked as she stared at the image glowing on her screen, and Lulu mid-kiss. The rooftop lights haloed them in a soft blur, but there was no mistaking their closeness. Her fingers trembled as she locked the phone and placed it on the table beside her bed. A nurse entered to check her vitals but barely noticed. The warmth of his hand in hers, the memories of their laughter, the late-night talks, they all flooded back, and now it felt like someone had slammed a door shut without warning. She wasn't ready for this world she'd woken into, not yet. At Kelly's, Brook lingered after had gone, her mind still replaying their conversation. He was trying to carry too much on his own. She could see it in the way his shoulders hunched, the shadow in his eyes when he spoke about Emma. If only he'd just let someone help him, but she knew better than most how pride and pain tangled together like barbed wire. Behind the counter, refilled coffee cups and exchanged quiet glances with Sonny, who had slipped in quietly not long before. He was watching people again, eyes darting across faces, reading the room like a chessboard. "What's going on?" Sonny asked softly. "Trouble," he murmured, "it's coming." In a corner booth, Robinson sat with her arms crossed tight over her chest. Her world felt like it had tilted on its axis. Curtis was her father, the words still didn't feel real. Across from her, Isaiah sat in stunned silence, trying to mask the pain that kept rising in his throat. "I thought I knew who I was," said. "I thought I had answers." Isaiah looked up, his voice a rasp. "You still do, you're you, that never changed." "But you did," she snapped, then immediately regretted it. "I'm sorry, that wasn't fair." He slowly, I always thought of you as mine, and now." "You still matter to me," whispered, "but this changes everything." And she wasn't wrong. At pace the Floras leaned against the fireplace, her expression dark. Marco's name had lit a fire of suspicion that couldn't shake, especially with always lurking nearby with that smug little smirk. "We should go to the police," said. "No," countered sharply, "not yet, we don't have anything but suspicion. Marco's dangerous, I've seen men like him, they smile while they dig your grave." Swallowed hard, "Then what do we do?" "We wait, we watch, and we be smarter than them." In the catacombs beneath the estate, Marco stood in dim candlelight, speaking low into a burner phone. "They're onto me," he growled. "We need to move sooner than planned." A voice on the other end responded with a single command: "Clean it up." Back at the hospital, sat alone in the lounge at the test results again. The words were clear, black and white, no room for misinterpretation, but the consequences were anything but simple. She had lied to Curtis, lied to herself. When Curtis walked in, she stood immediately, unsure what to say. "I know," he said quietly, "you didn't mean to hurt us." Shook her head, "But I did." Curtis took a seat beside her, the silence between them stretching thin. "She'll come around," he said. "It might take time, but she will." "And us?" asked, voice cracking. Curtis looked down. "I don't know yet." Across the city, Lulu and walked along the pier, their fingers intertwined. The earlier kiss still lingered between them, but something unspoken hovered too. "She's awake," finally said. Lulu stopped walking. "He got the text a few minutes ago." Lulu's lips pressed into a thin line. "What does that mean for us?" "I don't know," admitted, "but I had to be honest with you, with myself." "You love her," Lulu whispered. "I did, I probably always will in some way, but I'm not sure I can go back." In's room arrived, her eyes wide with emotion. She rushed to her daughter's side, pulling her into a careful hug. "You scared the life out of me," said. Smiled faintly, "Not the first time." Pulled back and studied her. "You've got that look." "What look?" "The one that says you're about to make things complicated again." Laughed through a small sob. "Too late." Meanwhile, at the PCPD, Dante and Jordan continued to dig into the Anna case. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Someone had been watching Anna for weeks, her movements, her conversations, her connections. This isn't just about Anna, Jordan said, looking through the intel. This is about the WSB. Someone's trying to tear it apart from the inside. Dante frowned, and they're using Port Charles to do it. Outside the station, Brook met again, this time with purpose in her stride. I made a few calls, she told him. My cousin knows someone who can get you and Emma out of town safely. His eyes widened. You do that for me. I do that for her, Brook said, but you've got to decide, stay and risk everything or go and protect the person you love. Looked away, torn between two lives. Back at General Hospital, stood in the hallway with the envelope that had rocked so many lives today, she looked up as approached. You okay? Asked. It's just, sometimes being the one with the answers doesn't feel like a gift. Understood that too well. Across town, in a dim apartment Marco met with, a briefcase sat between them on the table. They're closing in, Marco said, nose. Then we accelerate the plan, replied, Burns, we disappear. Marco's jaw clenched and collateral. And in that single word the line was drawn. As night fell over Port Charles, sat in bed out the window, she picked up her phone, hesitated, and finally typed a message to. We need to talk. Not long after, received the text. He stared at it, then turned to Lulu, who waited silently. Do you want to go to her? Lulu asked. I have to, he said. And as walked away, Lulu remained still, silent but not broken. She had known this might come, and if she was honest with herself, she wasn't done with Dante either. Some doors never really closed in Port Charles, they just waited to be reopened. Sat by the window, glass of wine in hand, watching the shadows move across the estate grounds. Something was coming, she could feel it in her bones. And when it arrived, she would be ready. Or at least she hoped so. Because in a town like Port Charles, nothing stayed buried for long.